Welcome back to Before the Bell here. I'm Frank Trigg, Kalikas. This is MMAOddsbreaker.com. UFC Fight Night, Saturday, September 17th, Hidalgo, Texas. It's kind of a weird location for the UFC, but they're starting to expand and go to different spots. They want to find different locations that they can bring their entire event to. And really now it's a week. Like when you come in town, by the time the fighters show up and the open workouts and all the press conferences that are open to the public, including the weigh-ins, then the fight, like it's an event. It becomes a whole week that the UFC's in town, and it's good for the local economies. Not to mention, it's also good for everybody that's there, the fighters and everybody else, because you get to see different fans in different places. This fight card, pretty good for Fox Sports 1. You agree?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, they've been putting together some great cards. I mean, if you look at the odds from top to bottom recently, they've been really competitive fights. Like, I mean, under 2-1 odds in most cases. So there'll be a few big favorites on each card. But, I mean, typically the fight lines are getting more competitive. The matchups are being great. So, yeah, they're definitely doing a good job matching well put together cards.
Of course, this fight, the prelims are on Fight Pass. Start the first set of prelims. Then the main card prelims are on Fox Sports 1 and immediately transfers into the main card still on Fox Sports 1. So this is a great card to get a chance to watch. If you don't have Fight Pass yet, get it. I think the Montego Brown fight's going to be actually the second fight on that Fight Pass card is going to be really good, and a lot of people are going to be talking about it come the next day, come Sunday morning. So if you don't have Fight Pass, go pick it up so you can check out that fight for sure. Let's talk about Hall and Brunson. That's the co-main event. This was a little tough for me to pick, and it's hard for me to look at it and go, usually I can kind of look at some of these matches and go, oh yeah, obviously, he's the champ, he's going to be favored. This particular guy's going to be favored. This one I'm having a difficult time with it. Of course, according to the UFC rankings, Uriah Hall is 9, Derek Brunson is 10. So they're back and forth. Either guy wins. That really they're only going to jump one position or so, not much, but a very competitive fight. What's the line on this first, Nick?
Right now, looking over at 5 dimes, it is currently minus 200 for Brunson, and the comeback on Hall is plus 170. So ballpark to where it opened, really. And there's been two-way action on this fight. Early action came in on Hall and dropped the line. Now we're starting to see some action back on Brunson. So a lot of split opinions. You're right, man. It's a tough spot.
And I'm actually pretty surprised as you go to UFC.com and look at the fight card. In height, Uriah Hall is 72 inches, with Derek Brunson is 73 inches. I thought that Uriah Hall was a taller guy. When I first saw this matchup, I'm thinking, oh, he's taller because he's got this huge reach advantage. Uriah just has really long arms. His reach advantage is actually 79 inches versus Derek's 77 inches. So he's an inch shorter, but has a 2-inch reach advantage. In the stand-up game, is that going to help Uriah that much, or is it going to hurt him?
I don't think it's going to help him all that much. I mean, a couple inches isn't that bad. I've seen obviously much worse. I mean, but reach does obviously make an impact accordingly. But I think Uriah Hall is just a tremendous striker. So just his striking alone is going to be difficult for Brunson to handle. So I don't think it's going to make a huge impact with the reach here, but it doesn't hurt. I mean, let's put it that way. It's not going to hurt his chances at all. So basically here, what you have is your striker versus grappler matchup, honestly. I know that Brunson's been knocking people out recently, so he's more than just your typical wrestler anymore. But at the same time, do you really want to play that game with Uriah Hall? Because that's mainly the way he's going to win this fight. He has some dynamic, explosive striking. I mean, you can ask Gegard Mousasi. I mean, he was winning that fight and got caught with that spinning back kick, and it just changed the whole complexion of the fight and Uriah Hall's career, because that was a huge win for him. And, I mean, he's that type of devastating striker that all it takes is one significant strike from him to put your lights out. So Brunson definitely has to be careful here and use his wrestling.
And look at their grappling. Uriah tries maybe one takedown a fight, where Derek gets around 3.5 takedowns per fight. So that's a huge difference. And I really do believe that Derek will stand there and trade with him until he feels threatened by Uriah. He's like, wow, I really am going to get hit by something hard and heavy. Or if he gets touched a little bit, he will start to back off and then immediately go for a takedown and try to make this a grappling match, which we all know Uriah has a really difficult time with. But he's also hard to hold down. He's getting better at getting back up to his feet. I still think that Derek is going to win the the ground game. And I think if they're on their feet, it's going to be evenly matched. The question is, does Derek get it to the ground as quickly as possible to give him that advantage, or do you try to stand there and trade, like you said? How do you think Derek will approach this fight if you were in his corner?
He's getting some confidence on the feet. And like you said, it's not going to be – you can't count him out completely, because Brunson does have a little bit of power. His striking is getting better. So, I mean, if he knocks Uriah Hall out, it wouldn't be a huge shock. But I still think that, I mean, this advantage on the feet definitely goes to Uriah Hall. He's just a more well-versed striker. He's been doing it. I mean, in that aspect of the game, he's just ahead of Brunson right now. So, and I think if he was smart, I mean, in game planning, I wouldn't spend a lot of time on the feet. I mean, like you mentioned, Uriah Hall has had problems with people putting him on his back. That's kind of an easier way for Brunson to win. I mean, he does have good top control. So I think if Brunson gets on top of Hall, he will be able to keep him there. I don't think Hall's going to be able to kind of maneuver back up to his feet as often as he wants. It might happen from, a couple times throughout the fight, but I think Hall still probably struggles getting back up when Brunson, puts him on the ground a little bit. I mean, let's not forget Brunson took the likes of Yoel Romero down. I mean, that's remarkable, right? So Brunson is one of the best grinders at 185. And I mean, that's kind of the easiest path to victory. So if I was him, I would definitely, from the beginning, maybe just, obviously the fight starts standing, but as soon as he gets the opportunity to take it to the ground, take it there.
Let's move on to Poirier and Johnson, the main event. What a great fight this one's going to be. Dustin Poirier is number 7 ranked. Michael Johnson's number 10 ranked. Both these guys have been on a bit of a tear as of late. Definitely well worthy of being on the main event of this fight. Obviously, Dustin's better on the ground, just because he tries to get to the ground more often. I've seen that Michael's not that good on the ground. He just definitely tries. Dustin tries to get to the ground a little bit more often, more of a complete package when it comes to the actual fight, even though both fighters are the complete package in practice and outside of it. I'm just going off of what you see in a fight. I got to think that Dustin's the favorite in this one. Am I right?
Yeah, you are a slight favorite. He's coming in around a minus 165 right now at 5 dimes, and the comeback on Johnson is plus 145. And again, that open ballpark as well. So he's staying relatively close to where the opener was. And both, guys are getting bet here too. I mean, it's another same scenario here. Both guys get a ton of respect. Both guys have, huge support from the public, and it'll continue to be that way, I think, as we get to fight time.
So what do you think how Johnson's going to approach this fight? We all know that Dustin's got a great striking, and when he gets in trouble, and even when he's not in trouble, he sees the opportunity. He takes guys down and puts them on his back. Michael doesn't necessarily like to be on his back. He's obviously more of a top guy when it hits the ground. Do you think Dustin will be able to hold Michael down if it goes to the ground?
If it gets that far, yeah, he'll probably be able to control some of it. I mean, Michael Johnson does have great takedown defense, and he's hard to definitely control on the ground. But I think if Poirier is able to get it to the ground, he could probably have enough success that maybe he passes to a superior position and gets Johnson in trouble, because that's the edge here for Poirier, is definitely on the ground. I mean, again, Johnson's wrestling might be better than Dustin Poirier's. I mean, it's close, though. It's hard to see until we get in there and they scrap it out, until they get in there and they actually fight it out. It's going to be hard to gauge who actually has the wrestling advantage, but I would assume it's Michael Johnson overall has the wrestling advantage, but Dustin Poirier, like you said, he goes after the wrestling more often, right? And Johnson usually uses it to sprawl and brawl, so he uses his wrestling defensively to try to keep the fight upright so he can use his outstanding striking. Now, Dustin Poirier is more well-rounded, as you said, because he could strike with you and beat you. He could put you on the ground and beat you. He could submit you. So there's more ways to win for Dustin Poirier. He's the more well-versed martial artist. But you know what? Stylistically, I think it's a tough matchup. I mean, let's not forget, he's coming up from 145, and Michael Johnson has been one of the best strikers at 155 pounds for a long time now. I mean, it doesn't take much for him to clip you and put you out. I mean, you could say the same thing about Poirier. That's what makes this fight interesting, honestly. I mean, I could see either guy kind of knocking each other out. I could see Poirier, if he does get it to the ground, submitting Michael Johnson as well. So, to me, it's a tough matchup. It's kind of a coin flip, to be honest with you. I'm leaning a little bit more towards Michael Johnson at that dog price.
And I was just going to ask you them because they are so evenly matched. Obviously, we got to go. This now becomes a dog or pass situation in this main event because they are so close to match. You want to take a stab at it, do a little bit of money on Michael. Otherwise, just leave this one alone. Correct?
Yeah, that's the way to go. I mean, you know what? Johnson has been pretty good to me overall as far as the betting window goes. I mean, I've been able to pick my spots carefully with him, and he's come through, especially as an underdog. I mean, there's been a few times that, people counted him out completely, and he's come away with the W. So, Johnson as a dog, it's hard to bet against him because he has that lightning speed and power to go along with it. And Poirier has been chin-checked a few times. I mean, he's been wobbled on the feet. He's been knocked out in the past as well. And again, this is at 155 pounds. A lot of people think his chin is better at 155, and that might be the case. I mean, he's looked good so far. He's looked phenomenal. And, he's an ultra-dangerous fighter as well. So this might be a better weight class for him, honestly. But I still got to believe that Michael Johnson is kind of a rough matchup for him. I just think if dog money, if Poirier was the underdog in this spot, there's no doubt I would go in on Poirier. You know what I mean? But he's not. Obviously, he's a favorite for a reason. He is the more complete mixed martial artist. So I think, honestly, Johnson has some value because he's the dog price. So it all depends on the number here, what you get. Either guy could definitely win this fight. So that's why I think if it's a toss-up type of fight and you're getting plus 145 on the underdog, there's definitely some value there.
That's it for this week here at MMA Oddsbreaker. This is Before the Bell. That's Nick Kalikas. I'm Frank Trigg. We'll talk to you next week.